Calling to order the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Raritan Township, New Jersey, regular meeting, February 15th, 2024. Notice of meeting. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied by the placing of a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board at the municipal building, filing same with the township clerk, and transmitting same to the Hunterdon County Democrat, the Courier News, the Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times. Roll call, please.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Here.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Here.
Mr. Steve Farcio has asked to be excused. Mr. Randy Block.
Here.
Mr. Jim Ferrero has asked to be excused. Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brangel. Here. Ms. Lorette Cretina. She is walking in as we speak. Ms. Donna Drews. Here. Mr. James Miller.
Here.
Board professionals, Board Attorney, Mr. John Drill.
Here.
Township Planner, Mr. Jeffrey Vaccarella.
Here.
Board Engineer, Mr. Rakesh Darji.
Present.
Traffic Consultant, Mr. Jay Troutman.
Here.
Board Planner, Ms. Jessica Caldwell, has asked to be excused. Township Landscape Architect, Mr. John Morgan Thomas.
Here.
And Board Stenographer, Ms. Jackie Clapp.
Okay, can I get a motion for the excuse Steve Farcio and Jim Farrar?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brangel. Yes. Ms. Lorette Cretina.
Yes.
Ms. Donna Drews.
Yes.
Mr. James Miller.
Yes.
Okay, moving over to comments, announcements. Hearing none, we'll move to the minutes. We have minutes from the January 4th, 2024 meeting. Any changes or additions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Can I get a vote, please?
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brangel. Yes.
Great. Meeting minutes from the January 18th, 2024 meeting. Any changes or additions? Hearing none, can I get a vote, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Oh, Randy, you can't second.
I'll second. Oh, okay.
Sorry, Randy.
Thank you.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brangel. Yes.
Okay, moving to the resolutions. Resolution, Raritan Township Board of Adjustment, Susan and Bruce Miller, 101 Old Clinton Road, Block 5.01, Lot 12. Application Board of Adjustment, BOA-14-2023. Resolution memorializing grant of a D1 use variance to allow the construction of a 1,530 square foot addition to an existing single-family residence to be used as an accessory type apartment, and two C2 variances to allow fencing within 100 feet of a stream and to allow animals to graze within 50 feet of the stream. Resolution number 2024-19, version 2024-02-07 version 5. Any changes?
No additional change.
Okay, can I get a motion?
A motion.
I second.
Can I get a vote? I'm sorry, roll call.
Oh, yeah. Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brangel. Yes.
Okay. Moving to the next resolution, Raritan Township Board of Adjustment, Shanti LLC, 305 Route 12, Block 41.01, Lot 3, application BOA-17-2021, resolution memorializing modification of conditions number 1 and number 13 of resolution number 2022-11 to allow an extension of the time period to obtain signatures on the site plans to May 4th, 2024, and to allow an extension of the time period to obtain construction permits to November 4th, 2024. Resolution number 2023-13, version 2024-01-11 version 2. Can I get a motion? Oh, sorry, any changes?
Yeah, the memorializing page 6 was supposed to be January 18, 2024, in that escrow, in essence, deposit the escrow, so we're changing that date to tonight's date, which is February 15th.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Can we get a vote, please? Roll call.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool Brengel.
Yes.
Okay, great. Moving to the applications for this evening. First application, BOA case number 08-2023. Applicant is the Huntington Storage, Block 63.01, Lot 13, 177 Highway 202-31 South. D variance for outdoor vehicle storage at existing storage facility. Do you want me to read the letter?
Yeah, let's read the letter into the record, please.
Okay, dear Taylor, as per our discussions, this matter was scheduled for public hearing for February 15th, 2024. In light of the REEP RTL Flemington, New Jersey LLC/Target application also scheduled that evening, and in light of the board
I'm
engineer's
not hearing
availability.
anything you're saying.
Hold on, Jackie's not hearing anything we're saying. Are you not hearing anything because someone's muted, or it's just not?
I couldn't hear you at all.
Jackie, can you hear
Can
me?
you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Not yet. Barely.
Microphones, can we get a?
Jackie, can you hear us? Jackie? Jackie, can you hear me in this mic?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we just need to.
I can hear everybody except Jonathan.
Okay,
All right, listen, I'm gonna yell from the end of the table. Oh, looks like we got the mic working now. Hold on, Jack. How about now?
That's much
Jackie, how
better.
about now?
That's much better.
Okay, thank you.
okay. In light of the board's engineer's availability, we ask that the matter be continued to March 21st, 2024, meeting without the need for further notice of hearing, and that the appropriate announcement be made at that meeting. We hereby extend the time period for the board to act on this application through the end of May 2024.
Is that date available?
Yes.
Okay, so let's make an announcement that the hearing for the Huntington County Storage Application number 8/2023 is going to be continued without need for further notice to March 21, 2024.
Okay, moving to the next application for this evening, BOA case number 07-2023, S/1443-M. Applicant is Catherine Jakowski, Block 40.04, Lot 15, 268 Old York Road. Application is for a minor subdivision with a D variance. We have a letter. Dear Taylor, as per our discussions, this office was recently retained by the applicant as counsel. They were previously unrepresented by an attorney. I understand that the matter was scheduled for a continuation of the public hearing for February 15, 2024. We hereby request that the matter be adjourned with a new date in order that plan revisions may be accomplished and discussions had with the board professionals prior to hearing to attempt to resolve as many issues as possible prior to the public hearing. We hereby extend the time period for the board to act on this application through the end of May 2024. We will provide new notice of hearing for the new date that you provide.
Okay, now, is the applicant's attorney here by any chance for that matter?
He just happens to be here.
What a coincidence. Do you have any idea of the timing on when you're going to get whatever has to be submitted?
I need a little time. So if you want to move this into April, that's fine.
Okay, so can we move the extension from May into June?
Yes.
Let's note for the record, the extension is going to be June 30th, 2024.
That's fine.
But let's list this at some point so we don't lose track of it. You have to do a new notice in any event.
Right. When, why don't we do the second meeting in April, if that works?
Taylor, how do we look at the second meeting in April?
Oh, April.
Not hearing you again, John.
How do, I asked Taylor, how do we look for the second meeting in April?
And that is April 18th. It's clear. There's nothing. So you would be the only application so far.
Right, we're gonna tentatively schedule it for April 18, 2024, but that presupposes that whatever you want to approve gets submitted at least 21 days in advance of that.
Right.
And it also presupposes that you notice for it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Understood. And end of June
June
extension.
30th, 2024 is your extension, correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving to the third application for this evening, 16-2023 applicant REAP-RTL Flemington, New Jersey, LLC, location Block 38, Lot 1, 325 Highway 202, application preliminary and final site plan with a D variance for a proposed Target retail store. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson, members of the board. My name is Stephen Gruenberg. I'm the attorney for the applicant, REEP RTL Flemington, New Jersey, LLC. And we're very excited to bring to you this application to convert the existing Burlington Coat Factory space into a Target. And I'm going to try and limit my comments too much in the beginning because we've already briefly discussed this matter at a prior hearing, and the notice had actually been continued to this evening.
For the record, that first hearing session was when?
John, I am not hearing you at all.
For the record,
I don't think it's
yeah, the microphone's out again.
I don't know.
Say for the record,
I don't have that date.
For the record, wasn't that the first meeting? That was the first meeting of the year, or January 18th.
So the hearing technically opened on January 18th. No,
No, it's January.
It was January,
January
because that's when
18th,
Steve was actually present.
2024.
Yes.
That's when the board decided it had notice, and then it
Mhm.
continued it to tonight without need for further notice, correct?
Correct.
So I'm going to limit my comments since at that time, we just briefly spoke about the application without presenting any testimony. And we were encouraged to meet with the board's professionals to try and resolve as many issues as possible prior to tonight. And that's what we did. And I'm happy to see from Mr. Dargy's report, I think we knocked off several pages, which was a good thing. So what I'd like to do, rather than me reintroducing the application, one note that I will make is that Mr. Vaccarello raised an issue about the sign variance, the two monument signs requiring a D variance.
and you raised that in the memo issued today, February 15, 2024, correct?
That's correct. And I responded to the board in a memo dated February 15th, right after that, and you're probably briefly read it right beforehand. I've had conversations with Mr. Drill, and we will concede this evening that the D variance relief is required, and we're going to request that relief, and we believe that our notice covers that D variance relief as well, and we are willing to take the risk that notice is sufficient.
Right, they have a catch-all, and normally with a D variance, with a catch-all, I'd be a little leery, but it's technically signage is an accessory use, so it does need a D1 variance, but it's an accessory structure. It's not like, some major other use that's not permitted. So in my opinion, if they're willing to take the risk, I don't feel strongly enough to say that the catch-all doesn't cover it. And as long as they're willing to take the risk, if there's some challenge on notice, they defend, not us, I'm fine with it.
And I think our notice fairly and accurately represents all of the variance relief and the nature of and scope of what we're planning to do here, including signage variances.
And it certainly reflects those variances of which you were aware when you prepared the notice. And one of the purposes of the catch-all is to cover something that they didn't see, but a board professional picked up, and that's exactly what happened here. Jeff picked it up.
Great. So with that, I'd like to call, I'll have three witnesses this evening, and the first one would be Robert Strecker. You want everybody sworn?
I want to swear everyone in. So Robert, what?
Strecker,
How do you spell that?
Streker.
Okay, and who else do you have?
Melissa Courtney?
Okay, is that Melissa with one L or two L's?
One,
And one S or two S's?
two S's,
And how do you spell your last name?
Courtney, Courtny.
Okay,
I didn't get that.
You guys got to speak into a mic. Come on right up to the microphone.
Melissa, Melissa, Courtney, Courtney.
Okay, by the way, what's Robert Strecker is a PE, I assume, he's a
Correct.
civil engineer. What's your area of
RA.
expertise? You're a registered architect. Next.
John Tykina, T as in Thomas, AI, K as in Kelly, I, N as in Nicholas, A, planner.
Okay, and can the board professionals please identify themselves, starting here, going right around the rim?
Rakesh Darji, planning board engineer, zoning board engineer.
Jeff Raritan Township planner. Scott Thomas, Township landscape architect.
Jay Troutman, Township traffic engineer.
Okay, can everyone who's identified themselves now stand up? Everyone raise your right hand. Does everyone swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And start over there with the yeses.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Set to go.
May I proceed? Mr. Strecker, will you please give the board the benefit of your qualifications?
Sure. Good evening. Robert Strecker from Bowler Engineering. I am a 1997 graduate of Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, where I received my Bachelor of Engineering degree. Since that time, I've been doing land use development applications such as this. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey as well as New York. Both licenses are in good standing. Been qualified in front of over 120 municipalities in the state and in front of this board previously.
I offer Mr. Strecker as an expert engineer.
Questions on its qualifications? Is there anyone, I see a lot of people in the public tonight. Is there anyone in the public that's not somehow connected to the applicant? See one person. Anyone else? You're in. Do you have any questions about his qualifications?
We'll accept you.
There are members online as well.
Like, can you ask people online?
Anybody online that would like to, no offense, question his qualifications, you may speak now.
Hearing none, we'll accept.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Strecker, why don't you orient the board to this application, and if we're going to present any exhibit that hasn't previously been submitted to the board, we're going to mark that into evidence.
Okay. Well, the exhibit that I have up was submitted to the board. This is the aerial exhibit plan.
But this wasn't as part of the application. This was just submitted a couple of days ago. So we'll mark this as Exhibit A1. It's a colorized rendering of the plan.
Okay, so it's a color rendered
That's-
version of sheet C101.
No, it's labeled,
Actually, this was submitted. It's part of your plan, correct? Oh,
no,
Hold on.
What sheet is that identified as? Sheet C1?
it's not part of the plan set. This is an exhibit that was prepared for the hearing tonight. It's labeled aerial exhibit and numbered C-101. The date on it is January 18th, 2024, and I apologize, the paper tore right through the middle of the date there. So I'm going to mark this exhibit A1 with today's date.
Thank you. Correct.
Okay. So what we see on Exhibit A1 is an aerial photograph of the subject property outlined in yellow. This is the Flemington Marketplace Shopping Center. I'm sure everyone in the room is familiar with this.
And just for the record, for people that are joining in via Zoom. I believe our board secretary has put this up on the Zoom. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't have to say that.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
All right. So the property we're talking about tonight consists of 20.15 acres of land, and this is in your B2 district. You can see we're on the southbound side of Route 202, and we're just north of the Flemington Circle. Church Street is a county roadway which wraps around the back of the shopping center and ties into 202 on the right-hand side of the exhibit and 31 on the left-hand side. The municipal boundary between Raritan Township and Flemington is on the left-hand side of the property outlined in yellow. Across the street to the north, there's the I-2 district in the zone, and just to our west, we abut the Wawa property and ultimately Route 31 beyond that. The site is developed with a 244,932 square foot shopping center. It includes Kohl's, Aldi's, Michael's, Chili's, and until very recently, Burlington on the far left-hand side of A1. That box at the end of the shopping center is 75,000 square feet in space, and really consists of about 30% of the building area on the property. If you went inside Burlington, you could see for a while they were continuing to reduce the amount of floor space they were using, and there was clearly an oversized space for their business. It's also reflected in the parking area. You can see the parking area on that side really was underutilized. So we're looking to revitalize a portion of the shopping center and bring life back into an area that previously was really not used sufficiently for the space. Shopping center is a conditional use in your zone. There's two criteria of that conditional use that we do not meet. First is a 100-foot setback requirement to the boundary. We have in the existing condition 77.8 feet setback to Church Street on the north and 75.3 foot setback to the side yard that's over on the Wawa side of the property. Those are existing conditions that are remaining unchanged as part of this application. The other aspect is parking. Shopping center is required to have 4.5 spaces per 1,000 as part of the conditional use. That is not where the shopping center is at today. There's 975 spaces, which equates to approximately 4 per 1,000 as a parking ratio. It's deficient in the existing condition. As a result of the application, we'll be improving that, but we won't achieve full compliance.
So what's the exact amount that's going to be proposed?
That's on the next couple pages, John.
990.
Right, but if 4.5 per 1,000 is required, what's being proposed? You don't meet that conditional use standard.
It's right there. 994 spaces are proposed.
Right. What does that come out to per 1,000?
It's just over 4.06 is the number I'm hearing.
That's what I want to know. Thank you.
So it's a small change, and it gets lost in the rounding essentially, but it is providing more parking than there was previously. So just back to the existing setup, there's 2 driveways from the shopping center out to 202. Both are right in, right out. 202 is divided in this area. 2 driveways out to Church Street as well. And there's a 5th driveway that's provided out to Route 31. That's via easement adjacent to the Wawa property. And generally the setup for the shopping center is parking in the front. That's along the Route 202 frontage. And all the loading for the spaces occurs in the rear. That's the Church Street frontage. And I'm sure you've seen that there's a significant berm, substantial planting along Church Street, which renders the loading area very difficult to see from that roadway. What I'd like to do now is flip to the overall site plan. That is sheet C-301 from the site plan that was submitted to the board.
Right. When you sent this in via email, was this designated A2 or A3?
This will be A2. I don't think we designated them. I just think I provided.
No.
I did. Right, this is gonna be A2.
What did you designate?
A2 and what's the title?
This is overall site layout plan, C-301.
Jackie, perfect. Color rendered overall site layout exhibit.
Correct. This depicts the entire shopping center and the improvements that are proposed by the applicant. Being colorized for presentational purposes. We've added the proposed landscaping to A2 as well, so you get a better idea of what the build out around this portion of the project is. Wait for the visual.
No, go to A3.
You want us to, the A2 is not up there.
She's working on it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so essentially what we're proposing to do is reoccupy the Burlington space. That's the darker tan color on the westerly side of A2. And really, there's just the smallest minor footprint change to the building. In the rear, currently Burlington had one loading dock that sat perpendicular to the rear of the building line. And trucks, when they park there, would obstruct the rear drive aisle. Target needs two loading docks, so we're widening that loading dock to accommodate two trucks. And then we're setting them on an angle, so we can have trucks at the docks, they can enter and exit without interfering with each other. And they also will not obstruct the drive aisle around the perimeter. So we're taking care of a couple different issues on site, but that results in a reduction of 472 square feet on the property. That's really the change to the building footprint. So that'll bring the total shopping center down to 244,451 square feet in space. We've also submitted, as a result of this, it's from a DOT standpoint or county standpoint, it's shopping center to shopping center. We've submitted for a letter of no interest from DOT and received that, so they found there was no significant impacts from the project onto their roadways. We submitted to the Soil Conservation District and received their certification. We submitted to the county and received their conditional approval as well. Their one condition is a request for an access easement along the Church Street frontage of varying widths, and that triggered some of the conversation that happened this afternoon regarding placement of proposed signage in that easement area and how that impacts this application. So it sounds like we're going to move forward. We'll put the proofs on for a D variance for those signs, but just a bit of foreshadowing. I'm going to be talking about two proposed signs on the Church Street driveways coming up in a little bit. Target itself is going to be open 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. approximately. Maybe slight fluctuations seasonally.
What is it?
8 to 11 p.m.
Including weekends?
including weekends.
Same.
Right. The building itself will be occupied because when the store is closed to the public, that's when they actually restock the shelves. So generally, there's going to be people there all the time, but those are the business hours.
People there all the time, 24/7?
For the most part. Again, depending upon the need.
Right, so it's open to the public, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week, but the building could be in operation 24/7 with employees, whatever, yes?
Correct. Approximately 35 to 50 employees on a max shift is what's anticipated, again, varying significantly based on season. And approximately 115 employees overall, so a good workforce added to this area. Target, as I said, will occupy 75,230 square feet of the shopping center. Now within that space, there's approximately 7,200 square feet dedicated to grocery. There will be grocery and a Target here, along with the other goods that you're used to seeing. There's also a small area dedicated to the CVS pharmacy of about 1,100 square feet. Those plans are still in development, but that's approximately how big it's going to be. And then there's also another space dedicated for a small Starbucks of 750 square feet. These are all within the building itself, and is typical for box stores such as this. It's
So those subtenants, those are subtenants of Target, not the landlord? That's the question? In other words,
believe so.
Yeah, it's my understanding that only because my daughter works at a Starbucks in a Target, that she's actually a Target employee. So there's a relationship between, I don't know if it's actually a
I just wanna make sure
subtenant
that-
relationship,
with
but
all the other businesses in there, it's all part of Target. It's not that there are separate leases with the landlord for separate spaces.
correct.
So the 70, you said 77,230 square feet,
No,
No,
it's
what-
75,230
75,230
and 30
feet. That's Target and
Overall.
whatever other incidentals they want in there. Is that
Correct.
Correct.
Just in terms of deliveries as well, tractor trailers, they receive 1 to 2 tractor trailers a day. Those are for both goods as well as food. There's a number of box trucks, local deliveries, vans that go along with this type of establishment as well. There's about 8 to 16 of those a day, and again, varies seasonally. Trash and recycling, proposing a new compactor to be installed at the rear of the Target adjacent to the loading zone. Compactor gets picked up once or twice a month, again, depending on need. Cardboard is recycled internally. All recycling is done internally within the building. There's a baler inside the building in the back by the loading dock. They generate about 9 bales of cardboard a week. And those are picked up by local salvagers who come and take the cardboard away. The recycling, as I said, is handled internally, and that's disposed of or recycled as needed. It's really not a very high generator of recycling.
Pickups of the cardboard bales or to the loading docks or some other exit?
Through the loading docks or a man door adjacent to the loading docks. It'll be at the back. Okay. So I talked a little bit before about the loading docks and how they're going to operate. What I would like to highlight is across from the loading docks, there's about 13 parking spaces. And we found that when we ran our truck template through there, we were conflicting with those parking spaces. So what we propose to do is strike those out so nobody parks there. And we're proposing to reestablish employee parking along the back of the shopping center, on the back of the building where there's room for it. And it will not interfere with circulation aisles, delivery lanes, fire department connections, doors, those type of things. The exact location for that is, okay. The exact location for those cars is still kind of being worked out amongst the tenants. But we're looking, when we submitted the plans, and I'm referring to A2, we had those spaces identified behind Michael's, but now it seems like it's going to be behind Kohl's. And what we would do is stripe out those spaces, put signs on the rear wall of the building to indicate that those were for employees only.
So there's gonna be a revised set showing that?
So they're asking for an approval with a condition saying, however many spaces you're showing in the back now, you're still gonna have that many, but they might be in a different location, subject to review and approval by both the board engineer and a board traffic expert. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
I would just like to apologize. I cannot pull up the last 2 exhibits. It's just crashing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Yeah,
There's something in the layers of those things.
it's a big file.
Yeah.
The CAD files keep getting more and more complicated in the PDFs follow. I apologize.
I usually put my hand up
Would you like me to handle this in a different way? Is it
No.
a different way for us to do this?
No, that's
All right,
As long as
then,
the board members can see and professionals
Let's ask anyone.
and
who's
anybody that's online, if you,
Anyone that's online, if you want to, we'll have him take that exhibit and hold it up in front of the camera. See if anyone. wants
as
to have
best
it
as he
held up.
can.
I think many of those people might be my people, quite honestly.
Okay.
Barbara's here, yep. Hello, Barbara.
Okay.
All right, don't raise your hand, right?
Yep.
No, no one.
okay. So let's just keep moving around the property, talking about site improvements. And since we are no longer held to the AV, I will bring up what I'm going to mark as Exhibit A3.
How many spaces, how many employee spaces in the back are shown on Exhibit A2, just so I know what the condition is going to say?
13. 13.
So the condition is going to say, assuming the board approves it, you're going to relocate those 13 spaces to locations in the back acceptable to the board engineering expert and the board traffic engineering expert, correct?
Sounds
That's
good.
correct.
Thank you.
By the way, and this Zoom is being recorded, correct?
Correct.
Okay, are we ready for Exhibit A3, Mr.
Yeah.
Drill?
Yeah.
So Exhibit A3 is the site layout plan. This is a copy of the drawing that was submitted to the board. This is sheet C-302. It's the same copy of the plan, except again, it's been colorized for presentational purposes, and we overlaid the proposed landscaping on it. The date of this exhibit is February 9th, 2024. So I flipped A3 because this is a blow up that focuses on the area of the improvements that we're seeking to obtain approval for today. And there's a couple key items that are occurring around the front of the store. If you're familiar with Burlington, you're familiar with that step that as soon as you walk out or up to the front door, there's a step. There's actually about a 9-inch grade difference from the finished floor to the street. As part of this application, obviously, we're keeping the finished floor, but we're going to adjust the grades of the sidewalk in the parking lot to eliminate that step. So that's a big win for the site. We're also going to shift the door to the left side of the building, so more to the west.
Are you
That'll,
saying that Exhibit A3 has the door shifted, or are you saying that you're asking the board, if they approve this, to impose another condition allowing you?
no, that's on the plans.
That's on the plan.
That is on the plans. Yep. Okay, so the front door is going to shift to the left. We're proposing to rework some of the grading within the parking lot and the sidewalks to maintain ADA access and eliminate that step. There was a question in one of your professional letters about a door to the plaza. Currently, Burlington has a door that opens onto the plaza. There is a door on that side for Target, but that's for emergency egress only. So the primary entry for customers would be on the south elevation of the building. And looking at the front of the building, there will be bike racks provided. There will be benches and planters, and these are all amenities that are shown on the plans and located at the front door. This is going to provide a consistent pedestrian access across the front of the Target and also all the way across the entire front of the shopping center. We will have a sidewalk that will tie into Church Street. There's a sidewalk that will connect to the sidewalk out to Route 31 as well. And there's a ADA compliant sidewalk, which will bring users over to the proposed make-ready EV parking spaces on the westerly side of the parking lot. And I'll get into those in a little bit. One thing that was in.
Can you do me a favor? Can you just highlight the sidewalk to Church Street?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. There is a sidewalk on Church Street presently.
Oh,
We're
oh,
not-
yes, yes, yes.
I misspoke. I
No problem.
apologize.
And could you highlight the route for handicap access to the building from the EV charging stations?
Sure.
Could you just get on the other side of that exhibit so they can see? Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
I was blocking you guys. I apologize.
No problem.
So the sidewalk is proposed from the front door of Target to the west, across the drive aisle and over to the EV spaces, particularly the first space is designated as the ADA accessible space. And that's what the sidewalk is intended to serve. Would it help if I?
So is that, Wawa has that exit on Church Street?
Yeah, if you prefer to stand on that side of the exhibit, just, square it up.
Okay.
I'm just trying to place it where it's gonna be. So Wawa has a exit, right, to the Church Street? And then that's where the sidewalk starts on Church Street.
That's correct.
So where is this gonna be?
So if you were coming from Wawa and
Wawa.
heading back towards,
If you're going from Wawa, there's that exit from Wawa gas station on Church
Right.
Street. And that's where the sidewalks begins.
that's where the sidewalk begins.
Yeah.
The EV spaces are proposed all the way on the westerly side of the parking lot. Thank you.
All the way to where? Like, I'm looking from Wawa.
Wawa is on the northwest side of the site, right? Looking back towards the parking lot for
Uh-huh.
Target.
Uh-huh.
The sidewalk is on the south side of that driveway.
Gotcha.
So it's indicated in blue on A3. And the EV spaces are the first spaces on the right-hand side. No, sorry, I do need to square this up. No, I'm good. Thank you. All right.
Robert, the reason I was asking that question
Yes, sir.
was in Jeff's report, item number 18. He's talking about all these excess lands from Wawas. That's what I was trying to place, if it's gonna be any impact to that.
Impact to what? I don't,
Of Jeff's comment. Did you
Take a
have
look
this
at the
report?
first report.
It's across the access.
That's what I was asking.
This is the comment.
And you can just easily tell me yes or no, right?
the answer is no. There will be no impact.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize, I kind of lost my spot there for a second. All right, so parking lot improvements. What we're seeking to do is optimize the current parking field that we had. And really for Target, there's two primary parking spaces. There's the one on the west side of the building that is almost completely unutilized right now by anybody. And there's also the parking lot between Target and 202. That's really the primary parking field that was utilized throughout the life of the shopping center. Really, when you see a parking lot that's underutilized, other things start to use the parking lot. Like there was a comment about Wawa excess parking in the westerly parking field. And just being out there today or last weekend, you commonly see trucks or vans or vehicles with snow piled on top of them that are still sitting there. When we revitalize this part of the property and we re-energize it, it increases the utilization of that area. And those type of things tend to go away. So Target is planning full utilization of this parking lot. What we are looking to do is reorganize some of the parking spaces in the westerly parking lot. We changed the orientation of some of those spaces and that increased the parking available to us. What we located in this area from a business standpoint, though, is the shop from home aspect of the business. There's 12 spaces dedicated to shop from home. There's a door and a ramp for employee use to bring goods out to the car. And this is an operation that I'm sure you're very familiar with. It's similar to many other retailers are doing the same thing. That's where that is located. The signage for that is a placard on a post that's non-illuminated and has been reduced in size from what was submitted to the board to 2.92 square feet.
Now, is that shown anywhere on exhibit A1, A2, or A3?
No, that was new information that we received since the submittal. So what's on
Yeah, so
plans,
what detail on the plan sheets will this provide? It's gonna have to be another request for a condition.
right, well, it's a give that the applicant is doing. I'll get you that detail
The
information.
directional blade sign or
No, not the directional blade sign. It is,
Listen, if you're gonna pick it up, you have it on your list of stuff?
yeah, I'll get to it.
You understand, anytime I hear something like,
You got to jot it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. I understand. For the rest of the front, on the front parking lot, that's the 202 parking lot. We reconfigured that pretty significantly. If you're out there, maybe you realize or you don't, there was a single row of parking as opposed to a traditional double bay of parking.
Yes.
So we reorganized that. We pushed the parking lot a little further to the west so we could accommodate EV parking, make ready spaces in the future. What this triggered for us, though, was an increase in impervious coverage on the property. Our impervious coverage increased by 5,495 square feet.
Percentage wise, I know you had mentioned it is point something, right?
Yes, it's decimals, but this is something that we need to talk about, though, because the ordinance requirement is 55% for maximum lot coverage. The existing condition is 83.4, so well beyond what the ordinance requires. And this change is going to push us up to 84%. So it's beyond the ordinance requirement, and it is a new variance that's being requested by the applicant. To offset that variance, so what we're proposing to do is stormwater management improvements on the property consisting of porous pavement along the parking spaces up on Route 202. So those will be porous pavement. And in the northwest corner of the site, we have a bioretention basin there as well. So we're meeting the standard from stormwater management. All of our obligations are addressed. As part of our resubmission, we addressed almost every single one of the comments that we got from a technical standpoint. There was one clarification that was requested on how we're addressing recharge. And included in the drainage report revision was a DEP issued recharge analysis spreadsheet that showed we had no obligation for recharge.
so that's what I just asked. So the stormwater management that you're proposing is not required by ordinance. You're doing it as part of the application.
Oh, no, it's required.
The quality.
Right, yes.
Quality.
But just to be clear, I read your report, you want the updated. Not everything has been addressed, right? Because that's what he said. All the issues have been addressed.
I said everything but one.
Yeah, but one, but I'm assuming there are more than one or?
A very significant amount of the comments in our review memo have been addressed.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Significant amount of the issues that are detailed in our memo have been addressed. There's majority of the stormwater comments have been addressed actually by the applicant. Trying to think the one.
Let the applicant
Sure.
Finish and then we can come back to
Just tell us which one is not been addressed and then discuss it right now with the board.
It's comment number 13C
yes.
that requests that we demonstrate that the amount of groundwater recharge in the post-development has been addressed.
In fact, as far as I'm concerned,
Yes.
whenever you guys want to do that, that entire 13, section 13, I didn't get clarity on that. So I would appreciate explanation on how it's done.
How the stormwater system
No,
works?
just how we have addressed all the items, just not C.
Right.
Okay? A, B, C, D.
Okay.
And you guys decide how you want to do it. I'm just bringing it up. That
Sure.
was an issue for me.
You want me to go into detail right
It's up
now?
to you
or-
guys. That's up to you
He's
guys.
saying you do it whenever you plan on doing it. He's just telling you what he wants to hear.
Okay,
Whatever you're going to do, is make sure you cover all those items. That's what he said.
sure. Well, what we found when we tested the soils here is very poor permeability, right? The soil, the testing that we did actually showed no permeability whatsoever. And that triggered comment C, 13C.
Mhm.
Let me just address that now. When we ran, there's a spreadsheet that you run when you do analysis of recharge that takes the existing condition, proposed condition into account and tells you if you have a deficit. They want to make sure in the post condition, whatever water was recharging into the ground, you still have an equal amount of recharge occurring post development. So when we run that, taking into account the geotechnical information, we show no deficit. So there's no change because there is no recharge occurring at the
And what was your reference when you used that? Like, because I went through this last time, we're gonna go through and I kind of skimmed through all this stuff, what you guys had done before.
And you're opening up the stormwater management?
Yep, yep. And the first thing I saw there is the reference of what data you were using. Am I correct? It was like in 2012 or something, data which was provided to you about the flow, or if that's wrong, please tell me, what's the data you're using for the water rates?
I apologize. I don't know what you're referring to.
What study
But
did you use? The study to come up with all this calculation?
We created the study.
And when was it
The
done?
stormwater intensities and runoff and
Yeah,
those
The
calculations
rate of,
are all standard values that are utilized by the county, the DOT.
I'm not
and the
questioning the values. What I'm questioning is the data which was used with like existing rainfall. Like how did, what's your reference? Did you use the current? Because
We
the
use the current standard.
standard, I agree, but the current data of the rainfall rates and all that, that's what I'm questioning.
Yes, we use the current required rainfall intensities that were based
There was
on.
somewhere I read it last time that they used the New Jersey report from 2012. For the-
Stormwater management, when was that stormwater management?
I don't have it handy.
It was in this or that, John, one of these.
Want to take a 5-minute recess?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Take a recess for 5 minutes. Calling the board back to order.
So where were we? The question was asked about the stormwater report. The answer is,
Now I have a clear understanding what we're talking about. The rainfall intensities are based on the current rainfall intensities dated 2022. That's part of the green infrastructure legislation that
Thank
came
you.
out from the state.
Thank you.
So that is the current at the time of application.
Thank you.
And I did just take a look at the stormwater management report. I believe the 2012 that you may have been referring to is actually the water quality storm
Yes,
intensity.
thank you.
And that is the same. That hasn't changed since 2012. And that's what that's referring to is in 2012, the state and the county promulgated 1.25 inches in a 2-hour period is the water quality storm rate. And that's actually what the 2012 refers to. And that's also accurate. That's the most current.
And since we're already disconnected here, how do you, still confused about 13A.
Sure.
It was the methodology number 3 and 2.
can you read?
Yes.
the
Why don't we-
comment and then
Yeah.
And please just
And
address
I
what
can-
I was talking
Yeah, and
about.
it's perfectly understandable why there's, a question about that. The original comment, if you don't mind, Bob, I'll go through it, I guess. Our original comment, which is the first comment in the stormwater management section, lays out really it's the meat of what's required for stormwater. There's 4 things that are required as Mr. Strecker said. They're required to meet the quantity because they have more than 1 acre of disturbance, which means you calculate the amount of runoff, and in the post-developed condition, there's a certain requirement. Then there's a quality requirement, which the applicant is not required to meet.
Yes.
Because they have less than a 1/4 acre net increase in impervious, so they don't need to meet water quality. There's a recharge requirement, which again, you have to provide, and that's what Mr. Strecker we asked for some discussion, is you're required to have groundwater recharge such that you were at least meeting the pre-developed condition. Mr. Strecker's testimony is that in the pre-developed condition, due to the soil condition, there isn't groundwater recharge, so they're in a post-develop condition that's met because they don't have to address it because there isn't groundwater recharge. The fourth requirement is green infrastructure, and the applicant is meeting that through the implementation of the bioretention basin or bioinfiltration basin and the forest pavement. Now, to get back to A, that's the quantity requirement. So what that says is the applicant is required to address quantity, and there's three ways that they can address it. The first is to calculate the existing rate of runoff from the site in the pre-developed condition. And in the post-developed condition, they can either reduce the peak rate of runoff by a certain percentage, which are outlined in the memo for the 2-year, 10-year, and 100-year storms. And then the other way is to demonstrate through calculation that they don't exceed the pre-developed rate of runoff at any point in time during the 24-hour rainfall or 24-hour hydrograph. The third is something that most people don't do, which is say, yeah, we don't meet either A or B, but there's no detrimental impact, and that's something that most folks don't go through. So the applicant did provide. The applicant was doing really both things. So for the various points of analysis, they address water quantity by the second method, which is demonstrating no increase at all during the 24-hour hydrograph. And then there's a section where point of analysis 1, there's drainage area, the existing, as shown in the proposed drainage area map, is the pervious pavement system, but the analysis references by retention basin. It's been revised. All those comments, the bullet comments that are highlighted at the bottom, have been addressed in the revised tech report. So all of them have been addressed. So the tabular data that we asked for to show that you don't exceed the runoff at any point during the 24-hour hydrograph, that's been provided. So all those items have been addressed.
Okay, thank you. By the way, that area always gets flooded when we have any kind of storm. That's why I was making a big deal. The 202 and Church, okay?
And that's
So
why
thank you.
in between our two meetings, our professionals met with your professional to address any of those concerns in
Appreciate that.
stormwater and site issues to because we were aware that stormwater is a very important issue for the township.
Yeah, thank you again. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and in the future, instead of stating, this comment has been satisfactorily addressed just in the beginning, we'll go to the bullet points and just say, this has been addressed and how it's been addressed, rather than just a blanket, it's been addressed.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
So I think we covered stormwater.
I can go all night if you guys want to talk. It's fine.
Let's talk about cart corrals.
By the way, you have done a phenomenal job as far as design and all that. I went through that, so I appreciate the effort.
Thank
guys
you.
have
Thank you.
Yeah.
Getting back to the body of the testimony here, cart corrals, there's 12 cart corrals located on the property. Those are indicated on the site plan. And what I mean by 12, usually they have them back to back on either drive aisle. I count that as 1 and 2. So each time that occurs, so there's 6 groups of cart corrals on the property. We'll submit the detail for that. It is not a covered cart corral. It is a tubular aluminum cart corral, basically, and that's it. So we'll include that detail on the next round of revisions. In terms of parking calculation, just to button this up, 1,101 parking spaces are required. 1101. 975 exist. And 994 are proposed.
We'll say 994 proposed. Does that include the credit you get for the EV?
It does.
I'm not hearing you, John.
Oh, hold on. Just so you know, Jackie, I'm not doing this on purpose. This thing has a sleeping mechanism to save battery life. I just have to remember to push the button.
Okay.
Okay, so the 994 includes the credit for EV. How many actual, just curious, how many actual spaces are out there?
980 constructed spaces will be present.
So the variance for the number of parking spaces is for a what deviation?
1,101 minus 994,
Yes.
which is
Very little.
how many?
107.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for completeness, does Target has any data of saying for that size, what kind of traffic they get?
Target has a target and minimum number of parking spaces. Their parking field, the west parking lot and the front parking lot park out at 9.48 spaces per thousand. The 9.5 is kind of their bottom threshold of parking. So they are, talk about constrained parking lots, they are feeling the constraint on that. So along with that, the EV spaces, we touched on them before. There's 14 make-ready spaces identified on the west side. We included setback clearance dimensions on the drawings as requested by your professionals for the posts. We're anticipate the property owner is talking to a number of different EV providers. What we're looking at right now is the post style that you may have seen before, where it's a singular post at the car. However, when we made changes to the front parking lot, let me backtrack a little bit. Initially, we didn't have this much planting or landscape islands in the front parking lot. It was more asphalt than anything else, and we were trying to not impact the side property line that much. Based on feedback, we introduced this 10-foot wide island in the middle of the parking field and planted it. We also introduced a number of islands throughout the parking lot that aren't there right now. So in doing that, it forced us to push the parking field a little further to the west. So we got closer to the adjacent property line. So that is one of the things that, part of the reason that triggered some of that impervious cover requirement. It also triggers a setback variance or a waiver variance, both for the equipment as accessory structures adjacent to a property line. 20 feet is required. At the closest, we're at 11 feet. It improves as we move to the north. That's the worst case scenario. As we move to the north, it reaches about 17 feet from the setback.
The units require variance. The EV units require. The EV units require a variance. The pavement for the parking stalls require a variance and a waiver. Just to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Question, out of the make-ready EV spots, what percentage of them will have actual charging stations installed the first year?
Installed day one. I don't have that answer. They're still negotiating with providers.
Okay, but there is a requirement under the law that you,
What does it
The
require?
statute requires make-ready spaces to be designated. If it's not residential, the statute does not require installation. It requires make-ready spaces.
would the applicant be willing to make some of those available at the, because the reality is this would be a big benefit to this lot to have spaces actually constructed. So that might be something that we ask you to consider a little bit further.
Okay, I would have to get back to you on
Yeah.
that.
One other question, again, back to the ADA accessibility and the general, I don't know if you're going to get into pedestrian circulation at all. Are you going to get there? If so, I'll hold my question.
I thought I was there already.
Okay,
So if you have a
so
question,
yeah, my question is from the location and that parking aisle where the EV spots are, the proposed traffic, foot traffic has people go left, cross over the drive aisle, and then follow the sidewalk down along the head-on parking on the other side of that lane.
yes.
Human nature is going to be, people are going to detail it for the door. I mean, that's kind of the reality, and that's what we already see in that Kohl's parking lot, where while it's improved with the stop signs and things that have been put in, there still is pedestrian conflicts
So is there the ability, and I'll ask our traffic experts and engineer, to create some stop signs with some additional crossovers? Because I can't see people going all the way down to the left to where that stop sign is now, crossing over and then going down to the front door. They're going to walk diagonally across the parking lot. And right now, there's no way for pedestrians that's designated as a crosswalk across that area to the corner of the building.
So a couple things for pedestrians that we're doing here. We have a scored concrete crosswalk in the main drive aisle across the front door.
Right.
If there's additional stop signs or bars that are requested with the professionals, we'd be happy to provide that. The sidewalk we're talking about, we do have stop bar and painted crosswalk. As you work your way further to the west and cross the street again, we do have crosswalk there. That intersection of the kind of the ring road for the shopping center on the westerly side with the driveway that goes past Wawa, that intersection is stop controlled as well. And we have the sidewalk, like we talked about, bringing you to the ADA spaces. I think as the shopping center gets more and more utilized, and particularly this parking lot starts to fill up with cars, it's going to be easier for people to walk on the sidewalk and cross, as opposed to walking amongst the landscape islands, the cars, and the various activities that are going on in the parking lot. So I think utilization of the property is going to lend itself to that sidewalk being more functional than what it is today.
I guess where my concern is the second and third areas of rows of parking. I'm sorry, human nature. I'm not going to walk.
Yeah, but you have to
75 feet.
remember, I mean, like with the Jack Cuss property, right? We had to actually have them put up a fence to force people to walk to the light because they were crossing in the middle of the street. So I agree with you. I just don't know what else we could.
Well, I think a striped area and an additional maybe stop sign or something there, to be fair, similar to like is in the other area.
But
now in this-
correct me if I'm wrong, there's stop signs right at the edge of it where the easement road to Wawa isn't it?
Yes, there is.
There is. I'm looking for something in between the front door and that stop sign all the way down there, because people aren't going to walk.
Okay,
And I just,
yeah, no,
that's just a concern. I stood there and I was out in the parking lot and it's like, I'm not going to walk 75 feet in that direction and then go down a sidewalk on the other side of the street. I'm going to try and cut across. And that's a tough.
that's why I was pleasantly surprised when they did the landscaping, because to me, it forces you to go around the landscaping to kind of walk around. But you're right. So I would ask Jeff or our professionals, what are your thoughts?
We're still working on the EV.
Okay, just finish that. Yeah, finish what you guys are doing.
You fire away and we'll get back to the EV.
Yeah, I guess I'll just put it this way. I'd ask that be looked at because it's a real concern.
What I jotted down, let me run this by our experts in the board. I jotted down as a potential condition, if the board's going to approve, add additional stop signs and crossbars for pedestrian safety if the board engineering expert and or the board traffic engineering expert requested. That's the sort of thing you're looking for?
Sure.
Jackie, did you hear that?
Hold it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I was gonna bring up is that the remaining portion of the shopping center, they do not have the stop signs at each crosswalk. So it's something that
Yeah, and in fact,
we discussed. I mean, Jay, if you have anything else.
Jeff, your item 20 is talking about Coles is having extra stop signs
Yeah.
than what you guys had approved. So, John, I like your suggestion for all that. They need to sit down and come up with the right solution here with the concept.
The applicant fine with that condition I just read?
We're happy to work with the board's professionals with respect to stop signs and bars.
Now, going back to the EV,
We're willing to provide 2 EV parking spaces like not just the made ready,
Right.
but actually at the time.
You're saying 12 make ready, 2 actually installed, but the question is, where did you guys come up with the 14? Because looking at the township ordinance, which is ordinance section 296, 155. Ordinance section 296-155.1D, as in David, then you go to D2. It says, as a condition of preliminary site plan approval, each application involving a parking lot not covered D1. D1 is residential. So D2 means non-residential. Install 1 make-ready space if there will be 50 or fewer parking spaces, and it has this sliding scale. Install 4 make-ready if there are 101 to 150. Install 4% of the total parking spaces as make-ready if there are more than 150 parking spaces. So you have 994 spaces. Now, you have to go, before you take the credits, right? 980. What's 4% of 980?
$229, $290.
I've just been handed a law saying that it's limited to the number of
Microphone,
spaces that you are affecting.
Steve, can you repeat that?
Hold on.
I could try.
First, let's answer the first question. What's 4% of 980?
39.
39. Now, what, you say you have some law that overrides the ordinance?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, why don't we wait on that for Mr. Takina? Because he's familiar with the law
Who was
more
that?
than I am. Your planner.
The plan. Okay, I'll wait, but I want to see that before. I don't want to hear it for the first time when he's testifying. Just pass that down to me now. I can multitask. Listening and the other stuff, I want to read that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So landscaping and islands, we kind of touched on this earlier. We had conversations with your professionals to provide additional landscaping. Ordinance requires a landscape island every 8 parking spaces, as I'm sure you're aware. The existing condition is far from conforming. What we did was try to become closer to conforming in the parking area while still not losing parking spaces. So what we did is we borrowed a little bit from one island to the other. And
Just ignore them.
I'm trying my best.
They're annoying.
We created additional islands, kind of midpoint of the front parking field. And we created additional islands on the westerly property line too. Where those islands were not wide enough, or 10 feet wide, we're proposing to include structured planting, structured soil underneath to help the root growth so the trees can flourish. So those are areas where trees are proposed with a smaller island. That's what we're installing. We're also proposing a number of plantings around the perimeter of the parking fields. And we're improving the situation, but we're falling short of strict compliance.
So if I may, John, your report, if I read item 4 on your report, related to the parking lot landscaping. Did I get it right? He's doing better than he's supposed to. It's 15 required and it's 17.9. I'm helping you, Robert. That's what I read here.
Where are you?
Well, you said item number 4.
Yeah, so dated, your memo dated the 13th of February.
Yeah. So there are kind of two separate issues involved. One is that relate to the parking lot planting.
Yeah.
One is there's a requirement for parking lot landscaping as a percentage of the overall plan. So that's one requirement. And I asked the applicant from the last meeting to show graphically how they calculate it, because the ordinance basically is fairly limited in what essentially counts as parking lot landscape. It's 15% of
Yes.
the total. And so they did provide an inset on the plan that showed it. And my comment was basically, I looked at it and they showed an area, 15% was required. I think the plans say maybe 17 point something was provided. I don't think everything that was shown on the plan technically counts under the ordinance. There's some perimeter that really doesn't count toward the parking lot landscaping. I'm not super concerned about the exact number because I think they're getting pretty close to it.
Good.
And the way the ordinance is written, it does allow the board to consider adjacent planting as contributing to it.
Okay.
And then my general comment is, you know, if you're going to kind of take that approach, which I think is what's necessary to happen here, is that it should be more than one.
Okay.
So I think there's some areas that could be improved on, like along the face of the building and some other places, but I think that's my response to comment number 4. Okay. And if you want me to, I could talk a little bit about the number of trees involved. And Mr. Stryker said yes, and I think the plan has been greatly improved over the original. Obviously, they're dealing with an existing condition. They're adding trees, but so I think, and I did have a conversation with his landscape architect, and they did add this structural soil system, my recommendation, right? So they could use smaller islands and still so
Be more functional. That's how.
Yeah. So that's great. There's still a deficit of about, by my count, of about 23 trees. At this point, looking at the plan, I'm a little bit more concerned about the.
I'm
deficit
having
of-
trouble hearing you, John.
No,
You gotta keep on, yeah. Keep on refreshing, like you told me.
Yeah, she told you. So I'm a little bit more concerned, quite frankly, about the number of trees than the number of islands
And then
at this point.
Yes, that's how I.
So
read it.
my biggest concern was let's get those islands that are there with those additional trees. And it's mainly the trees in the aisle along the building have no trees, and the aisle along the, I'll call it the west side or the south side of the building that don't have any trees. So that's about 16 more trees that they could pick up in existing islands that don't impact the parking. So that's my.
Yeah, so what's your take on that?
He's exactly right. There's a couple issues and concerns, right? Obviously, from a retail standpoint, trees immediately in front of the store is a concern. I know we don't like to talk about it, but that's a fact. The retailers are concerned about the trees in front of their store. Second of all, is that we have.
For a second. Why is it a concern? The tree's gonna grow so high that they won't be able to see the store?
There's concern about visibility, yes.
Doesn't it have a big target with a big circle up on the facade that's gonna be above the trees? What's the visibility concern?
It's the concern about visibility. They want, they're going to grow.
How tall are these trees gonna grow, John?
Well, they could grow to 30 feet tall, but I mean, again, here's my take on visibility. First of all, it does have something to do with the exact type of trees that are being used. Second of all, my observation in all the shopping centers is that the trees were pruned correctly, meaning that they were limbed up as they grew. You would have that visibility from down below looking up at the building. So I have to say that I've especially with this type of use, that in my opinion, in the retail business, but you know, this store will be as visible as many other shopping stores in the township. We have a Walmart that has no visibility from the road. We have a Home Depot that has no visibility from the road. So I feel pretty strongly that the trees should be located here. We can have a discussion. They've got some trees along the same aisle to the west that are of an upright form of ginkgo. It's not a native tree, but I think it would make sense to continue those along. And the same thing along the other property line. The other place where I think we're a little deficient, again, because there's no, I'll let Mr. Stryker speak to this, but there's no trees in the entire, there are no parking lot islands in the entire bank of parking where the porous pavement is. That may be an engineering requirement, but I think that area we could take care of by providing the required number of street trees.
If I could.
Sure.
Couple things. These islands around closest to the storefront are a premium from a lighting design standpoint. Not everyone has lights in it, but every other one has lights in it, and it's necessary. The other thing to consider is, I don't think the applicant has problems with trees per se, but trees around the perimeter do much better than trees inside the parking area. We're proposing a ton of vegetation. We have 41 trees that are being proposed, 465 shrubs and 115 grasses, and that doesn't include what's in the biosphere. The trees that are out on site now, if you look at the ones that are around the perimeter of the site, around the borderline of the site, those are averaging 6 to 10 inches in diameter. The ones that are located on the interior in these islands are 4 to 6, maybe somewhere around there. So the trees flourish more around the perimeter. You know, there's a balance point between everything we're talking about. I'm sure we'll work it out one way or another, but the preference of the owner is not to put trees in those islands immediately in front of the store.
Just to be clear, there are trees in the front of some of the islands on the other part of the property, if not there. I mean, you're showing trees being removed in islands that are there.
Correct.
So this shopping center has survived with trees, you know, for eons, back to James Way. So I guess that's where my preference is, that our landscape requirements be met. You know, the trees not only do heat island effect and reduce the heating and cooling, they reduce the stormwater flows, they provide a lot of benefits. And, you know, I think we've got a good landscaping standard that I would encourage the applicant to.
And these are,
yeah,
I mean, this is the required planting.
Yeah.
This is the required planting, and we're still not, even with
Right.
putting the trees in, we're still not there.
So in other words,
The other,
to not put them in, you need an exception. So you
Yes,
have
of
to
course.
put, you have to put some proofs in on why there's some peculiar condition to the property, and the visibility argument.
It's not gonna fly, right?
Not too good.
you know, the other thing that I wanted to point out as well is when we look at parking lot, we're hitting the mark on the interior spaces. I think where we're lacking is around the perimeter. Perimeter areas are the most efficient in terms of parking as well. So when we do have a pretty large bank of parking along 202, but that's where we maximize our parking space. So again, keeping in mind the balance point between the plantings and the planting islands and the number of parking spaces that are needed to support the store. That's another reason why we're seeking relief on that. So we are asking for relief in the number of islands that are required. We're short, there's no question. And the number of trees that are required as well, we're short there.
Right, but what's the reason for the request for the exception in both of those areas?
My reasons that I provided, and we have a planner who can speak to other reasons as well. You guys didn't sound like you like them very much. It was visibility, which is a factor. It was proximity of lighting on the site. There was the performance of trees in islands versus the perimeter, which has been established on site that we can look at. That's really what I'm looking
So I guess my question was in terms of the performance, that's based on what's there now. And I agree, I've observed that. But my observation is also that since I was involved in the approval of the shopping center when it was renovated the first time, that the soil that was provided in the islands was not sufficient. There were a lot of reasons why those trees aren't doing well that you'll be taken care of with improved detail on the planting.
So in your opinion, visibility doesn't matter, performance is not a good argument either.
Correct.
And then I'm also hearing that on the other side of the mall, where other shopping people are, they do have those trees. So it's also an issue of why here, where does the uniformity come in?
And we again have other shopping centers who have met this requirement.
Yep.
Of one parking.
Yep.
Island every 8 spaces with trees. So.
John, the other question, and maybe they can address the whole, I guess it's western side of the building.
Western.
Yeah, I'll use it this way, the Wawa side where it currently has trees all going down it. It is being reduced from a 20-foot to a 12-foot planting area, but there's no landscaping proposed.
Well, I think that part of it speaks to the parking lot landscape requirement. And I think that's a pretty simple fix. There is a planting bed there. There really isn't enough room next to the building for trees as much as I would like there to be. And I understand the issue of how they got there. But I think we could, I think it would contribute to the parking lot landscaping if there were actually some landscaping other than that. So I think that's
So what I usually like to do with Mr. Thomas, sorry, what I usually like to do is, we've always had a good working relationship with the board's professionals. We'd like to work to come up with a landscape plan as a condition of approval that would be satisfactory to him to provide additional trees within those island
So I put
areas.
a condition, something like add trees to the satisfaction of the board landscape architectural expert, knowing that he's a reasonable guy, and if there was ever a disagreement with him, you always can come back to the board to try to have the board.
Yeah, to say what an unreasonable guy he is.
But
that would be acceptable. to
But
the
that's in
applicant.
line with his recommendation that we get the trees that we are asking for, and we work out on something on that island, the planting area along the side of the building.
Yeah, the planting area along the side of the building, I think we can come up with plantings that provide the security, address the security concerns of Target, and at the same time provide a nice visual for the township. But it's so hard in a public hearing like this for all of us to say, this should be this and this should be that. It's a lot easier for the professionals to come to it. And like Mr. Droll suggested, if we come to an impasse, we're going to have to come back before the board, but we would appreciate doing it that way.
And just for record, John, we are very big on this, so we're entrusting you to do the right thing here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We don't have much more to go over here.
Lighting.
Let's talk about lighting.
I think they want to talk about lighting.
Okay. Let's talk about lighting. What the applicant is proposing as part of this application is to maintain and continue the existing lights that are out there now. Those are recently updated LED light fixtures that are out on site. We measured the height of those fixtures, the mounting height. We found them at 26 feet tall, where your ordinance requires 25. So we're asking for relief for that now. There will be relocation of light poles that are out there today. There'll be some new poles that are installed, but they're all going to look the same and uniform with the rest of the shopping center.
Six footers are existing. The requirement's 25. What you're saying is it would be
hardship.
imprudent to have to replace an existing 26-foot with a 25-foot just for the purpose of ordinance compliance, correct?
Correct.
But what about the new ones? Could you put the new ones in at 25 and not 26, knowing if
I could put, we could put them in at 25, but it wouldn't match the remainder of the shopping center.
Do you
So
think putting them in at 25 will be that? You think people will actually be able to tell the difference between 26 and 25?
I think so.
Are you saying the rest of the whole shopping center is 26?
That's what we saw. Yes.
Okay,
So we're trying to match what's out on site.
okay.
Board's call.
I think
So,
consistency would be more important than,
yeah, look and uniformity.
yeah.
Yeah, so I do have a question. Which
Okay.
maybe you'll bring it up later, but those things about which Rakesh, I spoke with you about something about 4 points and 5 point
ratio.
lumens. Yeah, ratio.
Keith, get that microphone.
The ratio of the average illumination to the minimum illumination, which on the revised plans, it's actually a little bit closer to compliant. It's actually, yeah, it's 4.66 to 1 where the requirement's 4 to 1. Before it was 5.51 to 1. So
Yeah,
it's-
but the way we're making concession for the height, it's because of the uniformity. I would want to see similar situation of the visibility, like uniform to the whole plaza. So what is for the rest versus what they are doing?
That's a very good question. That's one of the, I guess, the testimony that I guess I was expecting is that that deviation is so you can match the rest of the plaza. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me what the deviation on this one is.
Let me get 2 sentences of testimony on the record, and I'll give you that information. But so what we're doing is we're moving 18 poles, just moving them around the center, okay? So those poles will generate a uniformity, average foot candle to minimum foot candle of 4.66 within the target parking lot. This is consistent with what we see on the remainder of the lot. The photometrics were actually analyzed by the manufacturer who did the installation. So we're very confident that what we're seeing is consistent. Your ordinance requires 4 to 1. The difference visually between 4 to 1 and 4.66, I couldn't tell you. I don't know, but it's really not much of a deviation because you're comparing a very big number on the top to a very small number on the bottom when you go average to min. So any kind of difference is going to throw those numbers off. So,
again,
yes, sir?
what you're saying is you're going to
Imprudent. If it's requirement 4 to 1, it's 4.66 to 1. You can't really tell the difference. Be imprudent to require strict ordinance conformance just for the sake of ordinance conformance.
I think you would not really notice it. Yes, I agree with what you're saying.
I can't hear you.
But more important is uniform with the rest of the mall.
Yes.
Yes, that's, okay.
So the color of the post will be the same?
Yes.
Okay, and the hue of the lights?
Yes.
Jeff, if you keep this up, you're gonna have to donate quarters.
I've learned the hard way.
Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. Really, that's all I had to say about the lighting. We have the 2 issues we have is pole height and the uniformity. So I think we've addressed those.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me refer back to Exhibit A2 and start to talk about signage a little bit. Let's focus on driveway signs, monument signs that are proposed on the property. There's one that exists today at the main plaza driveway. That's a larger sign. It's 150 square feet. It's a multi-tenant sign and internally. That's remaining as is. We're not proposing to touch it. I think that sign has been there for a very, very long time, probably since back to the original renovation. What the applicant is proposing is a sign at each one of the other primary driveways. That is a sign at the 2 driveways for Church Street on the northwesterly corner and the northeasterly corner over by Chili's. So we have signs proposed at both of those. And we're proposing a sign at the easterly most driveway off of 202. All three of those new signs are proposed at 45 square feet in size and 6 feet tall. That 6 feet also includes a 2-foot stone pedestal on the bottom. The detail for this is submitted, part of the plan set that was submitted to the board. What sheet? This is sheet C-906, and it's detail 1. And it shows multi-tenant sign with the stone base, like I said. The remainder of the sign, the body of it matches the color scheme and texture of the site. These will be internally illuminated. The size is consistent with your ordinance, but your ordinance only allows 2 signs. 1 sign for each roadway frontage, right? So we're asking for an excessive number of signs.
You're asking for 3, you said?
We're asking for 3 new signs where 1 exists, so a total of 4
4
signs.
instead of 2.
The ordinance allows 2, okay?
And is that because we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 entrances onto the property?
Yes, these 4 entrances, not only do we have 4 entrances, we have multiple approaches to this site because it has really state highway on the front and a county road on the back. Both are used quite frequently for access to the property. All these driveways are difficult to see from each other too. As you know, if you come off of 31, the driveway that you get to on the backside of Target is pretty obvious, but there's no sign there whatsoever. So we're proposing a monument sign. The setback complies, and we are actually going to move it further back to get it out of the county easement that they've requested from us. The next driveway is 1,300 feet away from the driveway at the back of Target. So, and you can see on Exhibit A2, there's also a significant bend, and we talked about the trees there. So you can't see one driveway from the other, that's my point. And there's no sign indicating this is the driveway for the center either. The trees that are around here do make it difficult to see the shopping center and the buildings that are located there. And so we're asking for a variance for an additional sign here, same size, 45 square feet, 6 feet high. This is proposed to be located within the future county easement, and will be part of the variance relief that our planner testifies to. But again, the approach from the intersection of 202 and Church Street onto Church Street really it lends itself. This is a good spot for a sign, and it makes sense to have one there.
What's the total linear footage of road frontage of these 4 driveways? Now, if you project the line out from your lease area, what do you think the total?
The circumference of the site?
No, not the whole site, but just, where the store is.
About 1,300, 1,400 feet of frontage along Church Street. And along 202, we have 850 feet between the 2 driveways. So the total frontage for that is 1,500 linear feet of frontage on 202. 1,300. Huge frontage. Yeah, the shopping center is long and narrow. Yes, absolutely. Particularly
So I have a same question but in a different way. So I'm going to ask our traffic engineer. The sign, especially near Chili's side.
Yep.
From 202 to Church, that left turn you have to take if you're coming from 202. I've seen that area very congested. Would the sign help, or it would make it worse, having the sign there?
Well, I think having advance warning to the driveway and the location.
I'm talking about making that turn.
I'm talking about having a driver make a decision at a crowded intersection and identify where the driveway is for the place they're trying to go to.
Most of, and
I think it's a benefit.
Yeah, but
have
let
the
me
sign
let me just
from a
explain.
safety standpoint.
Most of the people when they enter the plaza, usually get in from 202. And then they'll take right to go to Chili's or Cantina and then go take another right to Panera or whatever, or Burlington Coat Factory, which is Target. I'm just wondering, was there any reasoning there and are there other kinds of traffic issues which were
Wait,
created?
wait. Okay. We're talking about Church Street.
Yeah.
Okay, at the far end where 202 is.
So-
Okay, so everyone there would most likely be making a right in because anybody making a left would have come on 202 to come into the major.
That's what I'm saying. That's
So-
exactly what I'm saying.
So, okay, so I think it would be I don't think I think the number of people making a left-hand turn into that would be very minimal.
And my
You
question.
wanted to ask the board's traffic engineering expert this question.
Yes,
So
because
get it out.
today there is no sign there. And they're proposing a sign. So is it gonna create a negative impact or it's gonna be what?
Positive.
Positive.
In my opinion, identifying a driveway for a driver on the road is a positive.
Okay. That's it. He said it's gonna be positive to have a sign.
I just have one question about the identification. There's 4 tenant spaces on each of these signs. How is that going to be determined? What tenant is? Will Target get one of those?
I don't think that's been determined yet. It'll be negotiation with each of the tenants as to who gets placement. Like this.
Are there any other site plan issues that you have to go through?
Target signage.
We've got to talk about signage.
One additional comment specifically. Number 19.
Sorry, Jeff. Could you say that again?
Item number 19. I'll let them just-
I'm not hearing this.
Jackie, I asked if they could testify to
Battery.
Yeah, the question was with respect to number 19 in Jeff's report dealing with the status of the site plan waiver and C variance relief that previously had been granted by the board, the planning board, and the intention is to still proceed forward with that. It just hasn't occurred, but that is going to take place.
All right, so next thing we want to talk about is signage that's oriented towards Target specifically. So for that, I'm going to talk off of A3, and then I would also like to enter in the Target building elevations. We're going to have the architect that's going to talk to the architecture, and we'll bolster some of the testimony I'm going to give you now. But I just want to, while we have the site plan up, I want to orient the board so we can proceed.
Is that a color rendered architectural plan? It's got to be marked as an exhibit, or is that in the package?
That's provided.
This is provided. It's in the package, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Right, so it does not need to be marked? No. Okay.
Do you think we might be able to take a break?
Yeah, can we take a 5-minute break? Calling the board back to order. We'd like to bring something back up.
Okay.
So my board member colleagues were talking about the signage. And one of the questions they had or concerns that they had is over by Chili's, the entrance on Church Street. If they put a sign there, which supposedly there was a sign there many years ago, that people would see the sign and possibly then start trying to make left-hand turns. And some of the board members said they have seen it, that previously there were accidents. So we're not asking, what we're saying is, I don't know if we want to discuss here, I do want to ask Jeff, our professional, to please consider going to the police station or the police and asking for a report like we did in another application, because sometimes people, we need to see what's happening. Both, and the easement, the entrance over by Wawa, which is not one of the main entrances, again, people make lefts, and that's not part of this signage discussion. And I don't know how much we can control. Other than, sure.
The sign you're talking, this,
new-
Chili's, that's in one of their four, or that's an additional?
Yeah, which, it's included in one of the four. And so we're asking just to table it or consider it. We just don't know.
I guess we're on.
Make sure everything is on.
There you go.
I got it. I think we've impressed upon you how we're under time constraints, and the uncontradicted testimony this evening was from your own expert that a signage there actually helps.
Yeah.
And it's a better situation than not having signage at a driveway. We really need to move forward
Right,
on
so
this application.
Suggestion. What they're saying is, yeah, it might work too good. People might start making lefts. So if you don't want to have to get kicked out another month, maybe you just withdraw that sign for now, come back later for it, so it doesn't hold up your whole application. That's my suggestion.
Or we proceed forward with the sign that we have on our plans right now that your own expert has said is a better thing, rather than letting me make my argument on it.
He said it's better to have it signed and not signed. What the board members are saying, first of all, the board members do not have to agree with their own expert, let alone any expert. But what they're saying is it might be too good. People might start be making lefts. That's what they're saying.
I was asking if that intersection is already signed. I thought I could speak close enough to it. I was asking if that intersection is already signed for no left turns already, if there's existing
I
signs.
believe it is.
Because I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't usually come in that way. So
Existing sign where?
if you're coming in, my understanding is you're talking about the Church Street side coming into the shopping complex, but you're coming in from the 202 end of Church Street and you make that left turn in. Now, currently that's illegal, correct?
Yeah.
And is it signed then to make for no left turns there? Do we know that?
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I can't.
I don't
might
remember.
be.
I thought so.
Well, I mean, that's a fair question. I mean, if it's not signed, then it's not. But also you run into the problems of over signage.
Right.
Not signed.
See?
It used to be. It used to be no left turn because there's an actual triangular.
And is there?
My
Yeah,
usual-
but the triangle is still there.
We got a lot of crosswalk, Jack, it's not a problem.
No,
Rakesh,
that's sure.
is it signed
Yeah,
or not signed?
it's not signed. I don't see no left
I
turns.
have a suggestion that maybe as a resolution that we just do the sign on the one side going, as you're going from 31, so that there wouldn't be a sign coming from 202.
So the one by Wawa.
That would work.
I'm sorry?
The one by Wawa.
One-sided sign.
One-sided sign.
That would work.
My thinking is if our traffic engineer or traffic expert is okay with it, then I'm okay with it. I would defer to his judgment.
Yeah, so the one side it would
That would
deal
work.
with the people making an illegal
I
left.
had that idea too. Not even an engineer.
That's a good idea.
Jay, you're,
I agree. I think it's a good idea because you still have the identification for the traffic that's allowed to use the driveway, but you're not inviting the traffic that shouldn't be
Okay.
making the
You're not
turn.
encouraging.
Condition's gonna be, condition's gonna be a
Okay, good,
one-sided
thank you.
sign at the Chili's drive.
Across from Royal Road, yes.
She didn't hear me. Say the whole thing.
So the proposal is to modify the monument sign across from Royal Road to be a one-sided sign facing eastbound church.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
One other thing I'll just put on the record is that we're going to agree to provide the make-ready spaces of 39 as required.
Okay, good. And how many, that's 39 make ready, how many actual install?
Two.
Huh?
Two.
Does that meet the state statute of the percentage that's required? Just ask.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I got time to sit down. Target signs.
Just a clarification, so you'll work with the professionals to identify the additional locations for the EV ready,
That's correct.
and that they would be split on the site, so they're not all in one spot, because otherwise they weren't going to be very useful.
Yeah, we'll work with the board's professionals. Not in a position right now to say where that would be, but we will work with the board's professionals.
Great, thank you.
Target signs.
Okay, here we go. Target, I would say, is multiple building elevations facing multiple different approaches, right? They're requesting variance for multiple signs, right? In general, they're looking for relief from the number of signs, but you're going to hear that the size of the signs, especially relative to the building face that they're attached to, are in line and smaller than what the ordinance requires. What we want to talk about first is, I will refer to,
The size complies the number, what's needed the variance?
yeah,
for?
let me get into my detailed testimony and I'll give you that information. Let's start instead with A3. And we'll just go around the perimeter of the building. That's probably the easiest way to do it. On the side of the building that faces the plaza, that's the easterly elevation. There's one sign proposed that's 64 square feet, and that's the Target Bullseye logo itself, right? That's an 8-foot diameter sign. Facade, it will occupy 3% of the facade. Your ordinance permits 5% for the front facade as the measure for the gross total of signage that you're permitted, right? So as I go through all the signs, we're going to exceed what that gross total is, right? But what the point that I'm trying to make is, for the most part, what we're looking for aligns with what would be permitted on that side. With the exception of this next side of the building, though, however, on the front side of the building, and there's a mistake on my plans. We call out the allowable for that front facade as 307 square feet. That is not accurate. It's 556.4. So it's a bit less. What is proposed on the front is 171 square foot Target sign. So it's the bullseye and the word Target underneath. That's one sign. There's a 45.8 square foot sign for CVS. That's shown on the building as well. And a 62.56 square foot drive up sign. That's an indicator sign for the drive up pickup area on the side of the building. All total for that facade, 279.8 square feet. That calculates out to 5.5%. Again, 5 is allowed on a building face. It's slightly over. And, you know, we could talk about the calculation boxes out the sign. So it's obviously a round sign, but we're calculating the square around that. So we are technically over by 0.5 percentage point, but really, it's not as bad as it seems.
Can you just do me a favor?
Sure.
That correction, go into Jeff's February 15th report, his items 8 through 11. And just tell me what numbers have to change, because I'm doing this because obviously I got to do a resolution. There's going to be a ton of these things.
Yeah, comment number 10. He notes 307 square feet as permitted. That's the number that's wrong. That number should read 256.4.
Is that the only correction on all those?
That's the correction on my numbers, yes. Okay, so moving over to the west facade. West facade is
Mhm.
the west facade is the facade that faces the parking lot on the Wawa side. Two signs are proposed there. It's a 10-foot diameter Target logo sign at 100 square feet and a drive-up logo at 57.29 square feet. Totals 2% of that facade. So again, less than the 5. On the northerly side, that's a side that faces Church Street. There's a logo proposed there at 49 square feet. That's just the Target logo, and that's 1.1% of the facade. So for each face, from a size standpoint, the scalability, we meet the standard except for that half percentage on the front facade. But we do need relief for the numbers and technically the gross number of square feet of sign. But you'll see they're all in scale with the building. The architect will go into some more detail on the architecture of the building and how that works. But I think from looking at A202, which is the exterior rendered elevations, you can see the size of the sign in context with the building, and I think it aligns well.
Question for you. For the front of the building, the pickup or whatever the sign says with the arrow, do you feel the drive up? I'm sorry. Do you feel that is necessary? Because I also think you have signs that are on the pavement, the stand-up signs that would direct people. Would it be possible to remove that and leave these stand-up signs that you have on the corners to direct people?
I think, I understand what you're saying. I think the benefit of the sign mounted on the building obviously is a greater visibility. Those directional signs that I was about to get into, those are much smaller in square footage as well as height. These signs are all internally illuminated. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but the position of them is meant to give drivers direction coming onto the property where they need to go. So they're not making decisions right in front of the store. They have an idea and they can move effectively to where they need to go.
All right, thank you.
Microphone.
There's a directional post in front of the building as well?
There's actually 2 directional signs that I'm going to get into right now. There's a directional sign that's called a blade sign. It's referred to that on the plans. It's a total of 10 square feet in size and is 6 feet tall. So really that is a directional sign, but it's focused more on the ground for people in close proximity to the store. It's non-illuminated and it's really directional in nature. The second sign that is proposed, and that is located in the back northwest corner of the parking lot. That's what's referred to the drawings as the beacon sign. That's 12 feet high and 24 square feet. 24 square feet because it's 4-sided. So it's 6 square feet per side. That is illuminated. And the unique thing about that is it has a solar panel on top of it to power a battery, which illuminates the light. So those are directional. Those two signs, like I said, 10 and 12 feet tall, really focused on narrowing the scope of where people need to go. This is for when you're just about there, gives you guidance where to go. The building mounted signs are, seem to be repetitious, but really the building mounted ones are to give you direction from across the shopping center where to approach. There's also a canopy sign that's proposed as well. The canopy sign sits over the front door, and it says order pickup is the text of the canopy sign. The ordinance limits that to 2 square feet. The applicant is requesting 17.68. So that is. This is going to be difficult for you to see from across the room, but it's in your package. It's literally just the words order pickup. And it's to identify that when you order, you can walk into the store to pick up.
That coincides where you have those parking spaces for the pickup?
No, those parking spaces are on the side of the building. This is on by the front door. There's also.
So functionally, the reason for that sign is when they're walking in to pick up versus.
When they're walking in, but when there's a shop from home and there's where they bring stuff out to your car. There's also the aspect where you can order online and go to the store and pick it up. That's the aspect that they're trying to address with this.
And just for completeness, why do you need that exception, like a bigger sign?
Well, 2 square feet is very, very small for that purpose. And
It's ain't to see it.
yeah, it needs to be that big so you can see it.
From a calculation, is it based on the size of the building, the height, or any of that, or
I
it
think
was
it's
just
based on.
it's a standard target thing?
No,
Either way, I
mean,
just want to know.
It's based on the letter height and being able to see it from a distance away. And frankly, they had their sign, and we're trying to align that with your ordinance and pick a sign type that works, that really meets the intent of what that is. And that's what we picked, just because it's sitting over top of the canopy. And I think that's how we got to the size versus the ordinance.
Thank you. That's a good answer.
So I think that's what it was.
I just have a quick question. For the order pickup, has there ever been like the confusion of people are going to see the drive up sign on that right-hand side when you pull in? So is there a potential that people are going to think that that's where they stop to get their materials picked up? Or I'm just asking in general if that's like an issue or anything, because I feel like as someone who might not know that that's an internal signage for them to walk in, there could be confusion if we're pointing that way and they don't necessarily know to go all the way around.
Right. And the way the pickup works is it's similar to other stores, right? You pull into a space, you text, they have your number and they bring your stuff out. If that doesn't work, they're going to come out and ask you, where's your order? You know what I mean? So there'll be dialogue at that point. So if there is confusion, it might, bless you, it might get resolved there at that point. And then people learn the process a little better. So I can't tell you.
No, I was just asking in case, just because I know the flow of traffic, I just want to make sure that people aren't stopping there and thinking that that's where they would be picking up their packages. So I don't know if it makes sense to have the signage that's in the front directing specifically a little bit further down or wherever they need to turn at the corner, just because I've seen people stop in the middle of the parking lot to get their orders. So I just want to make sure that it's clear directionally for everyone.
Yeah, because it would seem kind of intuitive. If it says order pickup, you think you're going to stop right there at the canopy sign as opposed to traveling around the corner to the actual pickup. So is there a clarification to that word? Because you want that signage so if people did shop from home and want to come into the store and pick up, it's kind of promoting that service.
Okay.
So
I may not be the right witness to answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we'll regroup.
Yeah.
When we switch.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a great point. Because
I would ask if in the parking stalls where they call in to have the order brought out, I've noticed in a lot of other places. Can't hear me? Oh, in a lot of other places, grocery stores, for example, they'll have a sign when you pull into the parking stall, they'll have a sign right in front of you, text or call this number.
Yes.
Okay, they'll have something
We
along
have
those lines.
those.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the pickup is just to identify it on the building in terms of that service is available but, you know, unless there's real concerns about that, I think we can move on to the other signs if we can.
Yeah, we're so close. We're finishing.
I will say, people will probably only make that mistake once.
I think so. And, you know, just to talk about the signs that you were just referring to for the pickup, again, those are located on the westerly side of the building. There's 12 spaces identified for that. We said earlier in the night, we're proposing to reduce the sign from what's being requested on the plans down to 2.92 square feet. So that would be under the 3 square foot threshold. But there's
So the
12 of
condition is
those.
going to be reduce what signs that are now what square feet to 2.92 square feet?
These are the drive-up post and panel sign.
Reduce drive-up post and panel signs from X square feet to 2.92 square feet. What is X?
5.
Thank you.
Is that it for signage?
There's only one sign left to talk about.
Excellent.
It's a window sign, and it's a little difficult to see on the elevations, but it's there. It's a window sign for Starbucks. And on the elevations, just kind of peeking around the corner, your ordinance allows up to 25% of the window area to be occupied with a window sign. This is 0.8% of that window area. The sign itself is only 4 square feet, so it's pretty small. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
So I have a question about overall facade. Is that with you or should we wait for?
Architects.
Okay, but let me see if I could help.
Yeah, it's more to our planner. I know there's a lot going on in the municipality with planning about looks and all that of the building. I know it's an active thing going on. Is it relevant here or not with the discussions which are going on?
With the signage and the, are you
The
referring to the
overall facade, yeah.
So that was actually one of my comments.
What number?
Mike?
What number?
No, Jeff.
Oh.
Number 21.
That report. If you remembered them.
When you say the planning board approved the facade plan for the Flemington Marketplace in a resolution?
It was part of their site plan approval, and there was modifications specifically to the Kohl's tenant space and.
And that relates to your previous question, number 19? Or not?
No.
No.
So what, do you know the resolution off the top of your head?
I do not. I believe it was.
Mr. Gruber, do you know what he's talking about?
No, I think just there was prior improvements to the shopping center saying that to allow for Kohl's to have facade changes. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to testify, but that this is a shopping center. And is it fair to say that these proposed changes to the facade from Burlington are consistent with what existed and currently exists?
I don't think that's in there.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Steve, you're not talking to the microphone, you can't.
God, I'm just talking so loud too. Is it fair to say that the target facade changes are consistent with the prior Burlington Coat Factory facade and the existing facade in this shopping center? It's not like we're putting in a completely foreign type of retail use. This is a retail use in the shopping center.
Yeah, let's just see what the planning board resolution says before you answer the question.
Sure.
Planning board resolution number 37-2001. I just want to see if it says that you're supposed to have some kind of overall, coordinated sign plan or not. If not, then it appears to me to be a nothing. If yes, then it might be a something.
All right. What Jeff's report is referring to, the planning board resolution number 37-2001. There's a finding, number 20. Look, there's no condition. The finding, just listen to, the finding is the applicant provided renderings for facade signage. The uncertainty as to the identity and number of tenants precludes the submission of a plan which is sufficiently detailed to be approved. The signage issues will be resolved at the time of final site plan review. So there's got to be another resolution. Jeff, to the best of your recollection, since you're under oath, but this is before your time. Unless you can find the final site plan resolution, do you recall if there was a condition that it had to be a coordinated signage plan throughout the whole shopping center or not?
From the research, there was a facade plan and some sort of conversation and comments based on the facade.
Okay. Is there any ordinance requirement that you have a coordinated sign plan for a shopping center?
I think he's talking facade.
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 No facade requirement, but as far as this project and application, there was discussion on it.
We would propose that this is what we're proposing, okay?
Yeah.
It's matching the existing shopping center and the uses in the shopping center, and this is our proposal.
This is this is their national
Yeah.
signage and all
We're not going to make Target have an orange or a purple.
Sure.
You know, we all know that that's what Targets look like.
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
board members have a problem with that?
No,
Right.
I'd just like to ask a question. I'd like to ask a question. Are there any outside cameras that are going to be put?
Yes, there'll be cameras.
Outside
for
cameras?
Security purposes, yes. And in particular by the pickup area,
Okay.
so the employees can see what's going on.
By my notes, I think we've addressed all of the board professionals' correspondence. We've tried to go through it in our testimony rather than having to wait to look at the reports at the end. So unless the board professionals have any further questions of Mr. Strecker or the board, I'd like to call our next witness.
Yeah, that's, no question. Yeah.
Great.
Well, if anybody in the audience or online has any questions, please speak now.
Okay, hearing none.
If not, the only thing I'm going to say, Jeff found this other resolution, the final site plan resolution. So I think his point is that he wanted the board to specifically review the facade signage plan and, either approve it or say you had any problems. So you guys, I take it, approve it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened in the final site plan.
Okay. So I think we've seen what it looks like, and I'm going to skip over the architect and go to the planner unless anybody has any other architectural questions, because we kind of.
I think that's a good idea. Anyone have any architectural questions?
Materials, I mean, just in general, brief overview of what the materials are. Is it metal? Is it stucco? Is it just quick?
Hello, it's Rob Strecker again. I'm just going to answer briefly.
Sure.
So obviously, I'm an engineer, but the face of the building largely is going to be EIFS, consistent with the remainder of the shopping.
I can't hear you.
Right. And explain what EIFS is. Exterior insulated finish system, which looks like stucco, correct?
Correct.
Ooh, way to go, Mr. Drill.
Good job.
What else?
In addition to that, are going to be wall panels that are cement fiber, but really they're intended to look like wood. So that's what these gray stacked areas are that you see highlighting various areas of the facade. And obviously there's a bunch of glass on the front of the building and on the side piece of the building as well. So in that sense, it is going to be consistent with the rest of the shopping center. It's made of similar materials.
So the red material is what again?
That's EIFS.
EIFS, okay.
Yeah.
Stucco.
Stucco.
Fake stucco.
Okay.
Anything
right.
else on that?
No.
Close it down, Mr. Strecker. You get the red badge occurred.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Steve,
Thing around your neck, the thing is what you call
Steve, I need you to speak into that microphone, please. Please,
Yeah, I'm not getting this.
For the benefit of your qualifications.
clearly.
My name is John Tykina. I am
You're
the
gonna have
principal
to
of
say your
Watkins.
name again. I'm sorry.
John,
Listen, it's 9:30, we're gonna make it. So slow, so she gets everything you said.
take the Brooklyn out of my voice.
I didn't have to say it.
My name is John Tykina, Taikina. I am the principal of All Things Planning and Development in South Brunswick, New Jersey. That's right smack in the middle of the state, if you don't know. I've been a planner since I completed my studies at Rutgers University in 1992. In 1992, and I've had the pleasure of keeping my license for the last 31 years. They tell me that's the challenge. Most of the time I do this. I testify before planning boards and zoning boards around the state of New Jersey. This is my 147th different board that I've been before in the last 30 years, and I'm pleased to be here.
And your license is up to date?
My license is current and up to date.
Thank you.
I offer Mr. Tykina as an expert planner.
Any questions? We'll accept.
Thank you. So I'm here to talk about the relief tonight. We do need 3 different types of relief. The first one is a D3 variance for a conditional use that does not meet all of the conditions. The second is a combination of C1 and C2 variances, or bulk variances, as they're commonly called. And they are enumerated in Mr. Vaccarella's letter. And then the third type of relief that we require is a D1 use variance for an accessory use that is not permitted by your sign ordinance. And that will be for the now one-sided sign that is located at the eastern Church Street driveway. So in terms of the D3 variance, it's covered by what's called the Coventry Square case. As you know, all the types of variances have been widely litigated, and the different cases provide us with kind of the steps for the board to make the appropriate findings to approve them. So for a D3 variance, it's not as serious as a use variance, because the governing body envisioned, the planning board envisioned, did the master plan, that this would be a shopping center. It said shopping centers, conditional uses, and it just said you have to meet these certain conditions. But under Coventry, we only have to look at the things that we don't comply with. And for those things that we don't comply, we need to work with the board to have the board make the findings to ask, is the site still suitable for the use, even though we don't comply with those few conditions? One being impervious surface, second being parking, and the third being the front yard setback.
And third being what?
Front yard setback. And then, as with all of our variances, we have to further some purposes in municipal land use law, and then we have our negative criteria. Are we going to have a substantial detriment to the public good? Are we going to have any impairment to the zone plan or the master plan? So the question is, are we still suitable for the use? In this instance, it's an existing center that has been in operation in its current form since its modification from an interior mall in 2001. The proposed improvements that are proposed tailor the site to the desired anchor tenant and provide needed aesthetic and functional improvements, stormwater, lighting, paving, and landscaping improvements that help to bring this center that has been present in town for many, many years, that helps to bring it closer into the 21st century. And so the fact that the existing setbacks will remain has really no negative impact, and it isn't something that needs to be overcome. It's existed and it's been fine. the parking, you've heard extensive testimony that the parking is adequate. You've heard that the specific parking for Target is adequate, and I want to make sure we get that right. Referring to Mr. Vaccarella's letter, approximately 281 spaces are provided in what we call the target area, and that is a ratio of about 3.7 per thousand. Target's ratios now for requirements go all the way down to 3.5 because of the changes in shopping patterns, online shopping, and order pickup. Because now you can do your order online, you can pull up into the parking lot in those designated spaces, they put it in your trunk, you leave, you're there 5 minutes instead of being in the store for 45 minutes. So that decreases park demand. So all of these things that are continuing to evolve in the industry all lend credence to the site remaining suitable, even though it doesn't have that amount of parking. And then finally is the impervious surface. We do have a minor increase in impervious surface of 0.5%. But what that has begat, beyond increasing a little bit of parking, providing an appropriate location for those EV charging spaces that are desired public policy in your master plan dating back to 2019. So you were 3 years ahead of the state in terms of where you were with electric vehicle charging. But what it also does is it begets the stormwater improvements that are being made in terms of water quantity and water quality, and with the bioretention and the porous pavement. For that 5,000 square feet of pavement, the applicant is buying off on a little bit more stormwater than you really would have expected to meet these new regulations. And that is an improvement that is facilitated by that 0.5 or 0.6% of an increase in impervious surface. So I think that because of these improvements, again, it still remains appropriate, even though that one element isn't addressed. I'm not going to enumerate all of the C1 and C2 variances. They've been discussed in great detail already. I'm not going to try and repeat myself. I will say that in each instance, as with all of our C1 or C2 variances, you need to find that they specifically relate to this piece of property. They relate to 325, Highway 22, and no other property. They don't.
Just give which are the C1s and which are the C2s?
The C1 variances that are present are the steep slope variance, and the requirement, really just the steep slope variance. The rest of them are
C2s.
Are C2s.
And your argument for the C2 is you're improving the overall condition of the site, and there's a case law saying that if you could look at the whole project as a whole, and if it's improving it, that would be a benefit. And if it substantially outweighs any detriment, which in this case, you're basically saying there's hardly any detriment, and the board could grant the variance. Is that your testimony?
Yes, I'm going to throw that page away. I do want to provide what those specific benefits are. The parking variance reflects the current industry trends for less parking due to the order pickup. The sign variances all provide for identification and wayfinding to serve the traveling public and direct patrons to the appropriate site. And I do want to point out one thing. You asked about the order pickup sign that is on the eastern end of the facade, and your concern was that folks would stop in front of the main entrance in the center of the facade. The blade sign that directs you around the building when you're coming down the facade from east to west is all the way at the western edge of the building. So it really, you'll be able to see it there, and it'll direct you and kind of pull you past the entry.
So you're saying it's this one right here?
Yes.
Actually, at the end, it's not showing in front of the place where you walk in?
It's not right in front of the building where you're walking. It's all the way at the western edge of the building.
Okay.
And referring to the same exhibit you're on, when you look at the you see it best when you look at the, actually at the rear elevation. So this is from Church Street. This is that blade sign, so you can see it on the side of the building. So it's all the way at the western edge.
Yeah, so Lindsay's concern, which has been bothering me too, that people are gonna stop in the middle for that pickup.
Right.
It may create some issue.
There's a sign
What you're saying is
50
with-
feet in front of them. It
with
says,
the
come
sign-
this way.
Okay,
Much better.
because that was a valid concern.
No,
so I wanna
absolutely.
make sure.
That's why I
Yeah.
kind of jumped out of my page here to make sure that I
Thank
addressed
you.
it. Okay, good. The park, and direct patients to the appropriate locations. The parking lots in question exist in place and are adequate. While increasing the buffering, increasing the buffer areas would reduce the available parking, and it would reduce the area where, specifically where we're providing for EV spaces. So we think that providing that additional parking and providing EV spaces is overall benefit. And then finally, the EV spaces are located in areas accessible to power infrastructure and visible to the traveling public. That's a critical thing as the infrastructure needs to be built out, that they be accessible and to the overall traveling public is the general policy. And I understand people are like, well, they're so far from the building. That's kind of okay, because we don't want people to feel like you necessarily have to be shopping in Target to go and use those EV spaces. They're kind of far enough away that you don't feel that way. You feel that they're just out there for you. So it's not like when, you want to use the restroom while, but you don't want to do it without buying something. So it's kind of the same thing. You go in and you grab a soda or a candy bar or something, but we want to make sure with the EV, we don't have that type of thing. In terms of the positive criteria, and the positive criteria will relate to all three variances. So it relate to the D3 variance for the conditional use, or relate to all of the C variances, and it will also relate to the D1 variance I'm going to talk at the end. So the first one is A, and these come right out of the land use law that we're implementing.
These are just for the C2s. You don't need it for the D3.
Don't need it for the D3, but I will need it for the D1. So the first one actually is the one that goes right to the D1. So it's to encourage municipal action to guide appropriate development in a manner which promotes the public health, safety, and general welfare. So we believe that that additional sign that we're proposing at Church Street, on Church Street, that is within the easement there, that is going to promote, as Mr. Troutman said, that's going to promote safe identification of that. Drivers can understand that driveway's there and make an appropriate turn there and not have to go all the way through the intersection, et cetera. Board made a great recommendation for one-sided. Again, that's why these local boards that are familiar with these local conditions are so vital. And that's why so much power, quote unquote, is vested in you, because you know your locality is the best. And I give my client a lot of credit that we listened, because that's an important thing.
And on this one, for that D1, part of the negative criterion, the board is supposed to condition, you have to obtain county approval to have it in their right of way. I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem, correct?
We have it. It's in the easement already.
That's correct. We're fine with that.
Okay.
We've already provided it in my letter today, but we're good with that.
Secondly is to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of uses, public and private, in accordance with our environmental requirements to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. This is G. Again, we're providing, this is obviously the right place to have a shopping center, obviously the right place to have a Target and a shopping center. And by having Target here and making the improvements we are doing, we're going to improve the environment, whether it's through our stormwater improvements or it's through our landscaping improvements. Either way, it's an improvement. I is to provide a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. Again, I think this modernization of this end of the shopping center is certainly representative of good design. Working with your professionals is only getting better. I think the building that is proposed by Target, by TPG, is outstanding. It is a nice mix of standard traditional materials with the modern, the niche panels, et cetera, that kind of bring it up to the 21st century standard. You know, and I think they did a nice job of blending between the old and the new. And then finally, to encourage coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening the costs of such development to the more efficient use of the land. So finally, the proposed site, reusing the existing site is the better alternative to a new greenfield site, resulting in lower costs of development for the developer, as well as lower cost for the community. You don't have to extend services out to a greenfield site. You're reusing the site, bring it up and adding value to something that already has improvements and is already envisioned and welcomed in your community. And then finally, the proposal seeks to blend all the requirements. That's kind of the part of this that isn't focused on a lot. You know, for somebody to go and get this approval, there's about 9 different agencies we need to go through. So we answered to 9 different masters, and they all kind of end up running through you, but they all have to be coordinated. So I appreciate the fact that your professionals understand what the DOT does and what the county does, and that we need a county approval for something that is associated with the easement, et cetera. So that purpose speaks directly to that. And I think that this application, again, by dealing with all these agencies, certainly advances that. So the last piece that I want to do, because I'm going to do the negative criteria together all at once, because that addresses all of them, is the relief for the sign not permitted in the right-of-way. The location is in a county road widening easement area, which your staff is interpreting your definition of public right-of-way to include rights-of-way owned or contemplated. So I guess the easement, though it remains within the shopping center owners.
Put it this way, cut to the chase. The county said you could have it there, right?
The county said we can have it there.
They said they would have it there. What possible negative could there be to have it there?
None.
Okay, next.
I think Mr. Drill's getting tired.
It's fine. So because the county said we can have it there, we believe it's particularly suited to be in that location. We don't, from Medici standard, we don't believe the municipality and the governing body ever would have envisioned that there would be a conflict between future county road widening and
Go is particularly suited for safety because they already had a case where they had one of these in the right of way and they told them not to do it. Just stick with.
Particularly suited for safety. Thank you. So in terms of our negative criteria, there are 2 prongs of it. The first prong is that we don't have substantial detriment to public good. In this case, we're largely existing conditions for an existing shopping center where we are simply improving it, providing offsetting benefits to landscaping and stormwater. It's not a noxious use, and this improvement will have a benefit for the center as well as the surrounding centers and surrounding retail uses. The second prong is, are we going to have an impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the master plan? Your B2 zone states its purpose is to define and control the major shopping and business areas of the township, serving the needs of both township and regional populations and transient highway users. So this proposal does exactly that. Target is a regional use, and it's going to draw shoppers to this shopping mecca that's here in Raritan. Your 2019 master plan reexamination sought to limit growth to existing sewer capacity, check, existing roadway capacity, check, and permit additional non-residential development, check. Reutilizing and revitalizing the existing center will accomplish these goals, certainly not impair them. Finally, the re-exam sought to promote smart growth policies, including potential locations for EV charging and environmental sustainability. Again, the proposal to reuse the existing site and the existing building, because we've seen so many of these older buildings get scraped, and that's not sustainable when you throw it away. The more sustainable thing is to reuse it, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Is it?
Purposes from the master plan. What are you reading from? Which master plan or which?
I'm reading from the 2019 master plan reexamination recommended goals in section 4.
And what page is that on?
I don't know.
I'm going to rely on Mr. Bloomberg to get.
I can hand it to you in a moment. I'm just not reading from that.
Read on.
Congratulations on being 3 years ahead of the state. Therefore, I believe you can make the requisite findings. I'm available for your questions.
Just for all the same reasons that you gave in support of the C variances and the D variances, do they apply as well to the design waivers in terms of the practical difficulties for strict compliance?
Yes.
Any
I have no other
questions? Any questions for the planner? Okay, hearing none.
Wait,
And
I just have,
sure, Jeff.
Microphone.
I just have one question, maybe just clarification, the signage that is by Wawa that was previously in the right of way being relocated.
Oh, right, that one sign, right. You're only seeking, thank you, the D1 for the sign that's really in that right of way.
We're going to make that one comply.
Correct. The western sign is relocated out of the easement. The eastern sign remains as one-sided facing eastbound traffic.
At the condition.
And comply with the 5-foot setback?
Yes,
The 5-foot setback is
to the
from
property line,
property line.
not the,
To the right of way.
Then we'll have to comply. Actually, we'd like a C variance for that. We're going to get it out of the right of way, but that's like 50 feet, I think, there.
No,
So
it just, that sign is just nipped into the right of way. If you pull it back 5 feet from the right of way, what's the difference between having it on the edge and 5 feet back from the right of way?
we're okay with that.
Yeah. Okay.
and Mr. Drill, I was reading from page 27 of the master plan reexamination.
Okay, so hearing no other questions for this professional, Mr. Grunberg, are
I
you?
am not saying a word.
Good move.
Confirm that there's no more members of the public.
So are there any members of the public that have any questions for the planning expert? Hearing none? Oh,
Yeah, Cynthia, I'm sorry, I have one thing that
Okay.
is kind of a point of clarification with the applicant's agreement to put in the additional EVs,
Yeah.
charging stations. They in fact might not need the parking variance now.
No, they need the
They
parking.
do. It's
No.
for a
It's
different.
1101.
Huh?
1101 is the requirement.
Yeah.
Right, and they were 980 plus 40 credit for the new spots is 1,020.
Right, so they're still short.
Still 80 short.
About
80.
81 spaces. The
Oh,
requirement's
it's,
1101, not
oh,
1101.
the report says
Yeah.
1,001.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Sorry,
That's what you're looking
didn't
at.
mean to get people excited, but so the parking table, there should be updated to reflect the additional
Yes.
EV credits that the applicant agreed to.
You want to say it now?
So you'll have credit for more spots on the site.
So Jeff, this is for our completeness. In your package, you had attachments from the fire marshal and from the recycling issue. So has that been, because
We're willing to do both of those things.
you're gonna do that?
Can't hear what you just said.
We will comply.
Okay. Okay, are we ready to close for deliberation?
Yes, we can.
Anybody want to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
So first of all, I want to thank everybody. And Steve, if you recall, when you were here a month ago, whenever that was, we were very big on a few items, and you guys have addressed them very well, right? I'll just summarize those items. One, I'll emphasize because it hasn't been addressed. So we're talking about safety, we're talking about uniformity, and we're talking about stormwater. Stormwater was one of the bigger items, and I'm so glad not only you guys have addressed those, but it's going to make that area better. So that's great, and thank you for that. Landscaping is still an issue, and I'm hoping that you guys will do whatever it takes to get us aligned, because as a board member and member of the community, I'm very, very concerned about environment and floodings and all that's happening. And I think this landscaping is going to help that, okay? But given that, I will support this application. And I think it's a very good thing for the community. From a business point of view, I believe this is going to bring good economy and business in the area and will provide better services, which we need in the area. So I want to welcome personally Target in the area and thank you for everything. Yeah.
Anyone else want to go? I'll go. So I want to thank you for all the work you've done, and especially when you were here last time and the improvements you made to make this feasible. I think the landscaping is greatly improved. I know we're still a little short, but I am so pleased with what we have now versus what we've had before. And the stormwater management, I think you've gone beyond, above and beyond. So greatly appreciated for our community. I think this is an overall great modernization and overall will be a great improvement for the community. Again, I want to thank you for the uniformity in the marketplace, making sure that, you know, it looks the same as fits in with the rest of the shopping mall. So I do appreciate it, and I would support this application.
I'll go next. So I appreciate your patience and going through all of our questions on this, and also working with us to kind of find a middle ground. And I know we're still working on a few things, but definitely agree with my board members. I think just ensuring signage is as effective as possible is really key for us, just knowing how traffic is in this area and knowing people aren't always following directions. So appreciate your diligence and kind of explaining that further. I do think that it's a great added value to our community, just knowing that typically I have to go to Bridgewater or Princeton or another town to go to Target right now. So I think it is a really good add to our location, and looking forward to having it come to our town.
Anyone else want to speak?
Just thank you for agreeing to do the additional EV spots. I think getting more EV parking in our community is going to be really important, especially at that shopping center. I think that's great. And I look forward to a resolution of the pedestrian circulation issues in those external parking aisles, because I do think that's something that we really need to pay attention to, because we want to make sure all those good people coming into Target can get inside safely.
Anyone else before we vote?
Yeah, I would just, well, first off, Taylor, do I get to vote tonight or not?
Yes, you
Oh,
do.
okay.
Yes, you do.
I'm alternate number 2, so I never know.
That's why you should always attend every meeting.
Exactly. Stellar attendance record. Well, I'm actually glad that I got to sit on the meeting tonight, because I've been saying for years that Target would be a great addition to the community. I'm really happy with the give and take we had tonight, and things seem to be working out well. I will say, though, please take seriously our concerns about the landscaping. I would be willing to die on that hill if we can't come to some kind of a good resolution on that. Other than that, I would very much support this, because Steve's been here enough that I trust him, and I know John Morgan Thomas will do a good job.
We're at 9:59. Randy, do you have anything to say?
I'll be brief. I'll be real brief. I appreciate the patience of everybody that came to deliberate. I mean, we deliberating, but for the planner, for everybody else. I think this is going to be a great improvement for the community, as long as all the conditions are met.
Pull back a couple. Jackie's not getting this. It's coming out.
Okay.
Normally I say come up close, a little back.
Jackie, am I right now?
Yeah, it's
Better.
much better.
Okay, thank you. I think this is going to be a better improvement than what Burlington was before. I just think we have some issues with landscaping. We have some issues with the parking. We have some issues with the signs. But I'm glad that we rectified it, as long as all the conditions are met.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're running late because of Randy, but
That's a story of my life.
can I get a, can I?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, the motion would be to grant the D3 variance, the C1 variances, C2 variances, the D1 sign variance, the exceptions, the preliminary and final site plan subject to all the conditions that I've written down, and the board's usual conditions in its rules.
And the waivers?
Waivers or exceptions.
I'll make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay Cool Brengel.
Yes.
Ms. Lorette Kretina.
Yes.
Ms. Donna Drews.
Yes.
Mr. James Miller.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's not my fault we're at 10:02. But thank you very
Well, it
much.
was random.
Really appreciate the board's input on this application.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Anybody want to stay later? Okay.
Ice cream is closed.